destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
Let's be honest, this wasn't just a disaster. It was a flaming train wreck that crashed into a pile of rejected CGI dwarfs and then exploded in a cloud of awkward interviews, social media meltdowns, and refund rumors. And the best part? Everyone saw it coming, except apparently Disney. Remember when Disney announced their bold and modern take on Snow White? Yeah, that went over about as well as a gluten-free pie at a Southern church potluck. They cast Rachael Zegler, a talented young actress who also happens to have the subtlety of a sledgehammer on Twitter. And immediately, the internet did what the internet does best: freak out. Not because she was Latina. No, most people moved on from that, but because she opened her mouth.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Yeah. She referred to the original 1937 classic as weird and outdated, because obviously nothing says box office gold like trashing the original while promoting the remake. Imagine remaking Titanic and saying, yeah, but this time the boat doesn't even sink, because that was kind of a buzzkill. Then there was the decision to not use actual actors with dwarfism for the Seven Dwarfs.
We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarves. So we'll guarantee no employment for little people while getting rid of this other component that warranted CGI. It was the worst decision they could possibly make.
Instead, Disney gave us a ragtag gang of CGI background extras from a knockoff Narnia film. Because nothing screams inclusivity like excluding an entire group of actors to avoid looking offensive. They basically solved a problem no one was complaining about, and in the process, they managed to offend everyone. Clap it up, folks. Peak corporate decision-making right there. Now let's talk about the on-set vibe, which can best be described as hostile group project energy.
The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachael Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
Rachael Zegler and Gal Gadot reportedly had the chemistry of vinegar and baking soda, and not in a fun science project kind of way. Zegler was out here giving pro-Palestine takes, while Gal Gadot, being, Gal Gadot, was very publicly pro-Israel. What could possibly go wrong? Apparently, everything. They refused to attend events together, dodged each other during press junkets, and made red carpets look like awkward Tinder dates that should have been canceled.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about
she's gonna die.
true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
At one point, Rachael skipped a Disney-hosted event entirely because of political differences. Meanwhile, Gal showed up like a pro, probably wondering how she got dragged into this chaos, when all she wanted to do was wear a crown and scowl dramatically. Let's talk numbers. This thing reportedly cost over $300 million to make. That's enough to build a new theme park, buy a small island, or just, make a good movie. But instead, Disney blew the budget on reshoots, canceled promotional appearances, and editing together scenes between two leads who couldn't even pretend to like each other. There's even a rumor, get this, that Rachael Zegler had a clause in her contract that allowed Disney to request part of her salary back if things went south. And buddy, things didn't just go south. They built a summer home there.
And there is no resolution in sight for the Walt Disney Company when it comes to Snow White 2025 at the box office. This is exactly why Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is in pure panic mode over not just the Rachael Zegler backlash, but the entire backlash surrounding this movie in general.
When the movie finally limped into theaters, it made around $43 million its opening weekend, which sounds okay until you remember they needed well over $300 million just to break even. This wasn't a box office performance, it was a financial cry for help. At one SoCal theater, only 4 people bought advance tickets. 4. That's not a box office, that's a family of mildly curious hostages. Meanwhile, movie fans were like, hard pass, I'll just rewatch Enchanted and pretend it never happened.
And just how once trusted critics that shilled for the Disney company all the time, even they are beginning to turn their back against them. That's how bad this movie truly is. Even if you look at the IMDb rating score, that's when you really know how terrible this movie is and how it really hit rock bottom.
After the box office flop, Disney didn't just pause future projects like Tangled, they basically slammed the brakes and threw the whole fairy tale roadmap into a paper shredder. Executives allegedly demanded Rachael Zegler refund part of her paycheck.
You could look at the fact that she has been sabotaging this film for years at this point, all in this sort of pursuit of entitlement.
And then, plot twist, she left the country. Yep. Packed up and ghosted like she owed Mickey Mouse money. I'd run too if the House of Mouse sent a legal team with big ears and even bigger contracts. Behind the scenes, editors were frantically trying to patch together scenes with no emotional connection, reshooting entire sequences, and hoping no one would notice that Snow White and the Evil Queen looked like they were filming on separate planets. It's like someone tried to stitch together a fairy tale using duct tape, leftover TikTok drama, and the emotional energy of a DMV. Even the CGI dwarfs looked like they wanted to unionize and walk off screen. Gal Gadot reportedly tried to just power through, fulfill her obligations, and go home. The poor woman showed up to work and accidentally walked into a PR war zone, complete with side-eye and pointed questions like, "Why does your co-star hate everything?" She signed up to play an iconic villain. She didn't expect to be the only adult left in the building. As of now, Snow White is still set to release, but don't be surprised if it quietly disappears into the Disney Plus void, buried between forgotten National Geographic specials and season 3 of some Star Wars spin-off no one asked for. There's talk that the movie might shift to streaming faster than expected, just to avoid more embarrassment. Because let's face it, at this point, even the dwarfs are too embarrassed to show their faces. So what can we learn from all this? Well, maybe don't hire actors with wildly opposing worldviews and expect them to hold hands on a press tour. Maybe don't spend $300 million remaking a beloved classic just to turn it into a think piece about corporate greed and broken dreams. And maybe, just maybe, if your leads hate each other, your audience might hate the movie too.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child of the Democratic Party.
Snow White was supposed to be a magical reboot. Instead, it became a slow-motion PR implosion, wrapped in a glittery cape and released into theaters with a prayer and a press release. Disney, next time, just let the girl sing to birds and clean a cottage. That's what we showed up for. If you made it this far, bless your sarcastic little heart. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and drop your hot takes in the comments. Especially if you'd rather see Snow White rebooted by Quentin Tarantino. I know I would.
Disney responded by scaling back the premiere. I don't know that anyone really showed up to the premiere. The Rotten Tomatoes reviews are looking pretty bad, and they did. It seems like they tried to tweak a few things, but this movie is bad.